Somehow the calendar has flipped to September, and somehow we have hit the 25th race of the season, and somehow there are only 9 races left in this 2013 NASCAR Nationwide Series season. Welcome, my friends, to Richmond International Raceway for a short track showdown. It's our version of Friday Night Lights. It's Brian Scott who will lead the field to green for just the second time in his career. Before he has that honor, we must first attend to business down on the grid. Time for pre-race ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise and remove your hats? And all veterans of our armed services are encouraged to render a hand salute as the color guard from the Fort Lee Non-Commissioned Officers Academy present our nation's colors. Now, please welcome Reverend Joe Ellison, Senior Pastor of the City Park Church, as he delivers our invocation.
Race fans, let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you tonight for giving us such a beautiful night for racing. We thank you, Lord, that you will protect each and every driver tonight. Thank you, Lord, for the satisfaction of giving us the opportunity to enjoy this sport we call NASCAR. And Father, tonight, we ask you, Lord, to protect our brave men and women who serve around the world, protecting our freedom in America. Lord, tonight, we'll give you all the praise. And we thank you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please remain standing and welcome 11-year-old Sophia Nader from Robius Middle School in Midlothian, Virginia, for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Cutest and best anthem of the year. By the way, is this one of those tracks where, again, Rusty, you have to be patiently aggressive?
You have to be patiently aggressive. You're going to get all jammed up out there. You can't hit somebody. In order to do that, you kind of got to get going, but you got to be patient and aggressive.
Yeah, lights go down, tempers come up. You got to keep those fenders clean, not bang your race car up, not get jammed up and dent things up. Take care of those brakes.
Which is why it is an excellent place to gain or lose points.
Yes, oh, perfect. That's right.
Well, it's time to lose us, and let's go upstairs to the booth. That is where we will find Marty Reed, Andy Petrie, and Dale Jarrett.
Thank you, Nicole. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for spending part of your Friday night with us. You know, the top 2 in points have separated themselves from the couple behind them. And it's been a role, DJ, that the short tracks have played a key part.
Yeah, we usually see that happen. The race is tight and furious on these short tracks. With Austin Dillon, we would kind of expect that. Knowing his background, growing up racing stock cars on these shorter tracks, on dirt tracks. Not so much Sam Hornish, though. When you think of Sam and where he came from, the open-wheeled ranks, he didn't race on this type of circuit that much. So I think that's a little bit surprising to me, but he's done outstandingly well. And I think we just heard Nicole and Rusty talking about being aggressive and being patient, and I think Sam Hornish has shown that, and I think we'll see that happen again tonight. Probably a little more patience even than what we saw here the first time.
10 points separate first and second. Third is Elliott Sadler, 26 back. 29 back is Regan Smith. How do they get back into this?
Well, one way might be like this. We've seen Sam Hornish be aggressive, and that's what's making him fast. But sometimes he's on the edge. He can get in trouble, and I can see this maybe being something that can hurt him down the road. Austin Dillon's another one that does a pretty good job, though. But he was aggressive here. The last race got him in trouble, knocked him out. If these drivers overdo it a little bit, these other guys can be right back on top of them in these points.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to lose that. And even though it seems like these two have separated themselves, they've got to be careful and not get themselves in trouble, which can happen easily and quickly here on the short track.
All right, we're going to step aside for just a moment. When we come back, we'll fire the engines and we'll get tonight's race under the lights at Richmond underway. Stay with us. If you were not able to be with us for qualifying, we talked about how important it was to qualify in the top 5. Here's the reason why. 18 of the last 23 races on short tracks, all short tracks, have been won from a top 5 starting position. 5 of the last 7 here at Richmond from the top 5. Who's in the top 5 tonight? Brian Scott, Matt Kenseth, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, Sam Hornish Jr. We'll find out if the statistics hold true. Time now to fire the engines. Let's go trackside.
Race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, the voice of the Washington Redskins, Larry Michael.
All right, buckle up, Redskins Nation. Drivers, start your engines.
We can fire it up when ready.
So the engines are fired on the 40 cars that made the field. We had 45 actually attempted here today. 5 are already on the trailer heading home. And don't know what these 40 cars will look like by the end of this short track race tonight, but we can guarantee you it is going to be exciting. That man in the 11 is going to be our in-race reporter, and we'll talk to Elliott Sadler when we come back. Back here at Richmond International Raceway, where we're getting ready to put the cars out onto the track to get tonight's race started. Elliott Sadler is third in the points, 26 markers behind Sam Hornish Jr. And as we take a look at the last 5 races, he's had some respectable finishes. It's those last 2 that have really sort of hurt him, especially that 18th last week at Atlanta. As we mentioned, he's our in-race reporter. Let's talk to him, DJ.
Hey, Elliott, Dale Jett, the ESPN. Got a beautiful night for racing here in your home state of Virginia.
Man, it sure is. Man, we got a lot of fans showed up for us tonight. A great 1,000 starts in the Nationwide Series here tonight in Richmond. And I'm just glad it's here in our home track here at Richmond, close to Emporia. Got a lot of fans here from Southern Virginia. Looking forward to a good night of racing.
Elliott, we've got a mailbag question from one of your fans in Wells, Maine. And Stephen asked, you're 26 points behind the leader with 9 races to go. What does your team need to do tonight to stay in championship contention?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, 26 points. It's not a lot of points when you're talking about 9 races, but we got to continue to get better. We got to continue to show speed. We got to be there at the end tonight, man. This racetrack changes so much on long runs. You got to really understand about keeping your rear tires on tonight. But at the end of the night, we have to outrun that 12 car and that 3 car because that's who we're racing against. So hopefully tonight we'll be able to make that happen. Got a great pit crew that always helps me on pit road. Hopefully we'll be able to put together a real good race for tonight.
All right, Elliott, thanks for talking with us. We'll look forward to getting back with you later in the race.
All right, thanks, DJ.
And we've got a total of 8 onboard cameras for you tonight. Let's kick it off with the man who's second in the points, Austin Dillon, as he has got the Advocare on board. Regan Smith been doing a lot of laps today. We'll talk about the fact he's been subbing for Jimmy Johnson. He's got the Nationwide Insurance on board. We've already talked to Elliott with the Sunoco onboard camera. Sam Hornish Jr. with the Goodyear on board. Brian Vickers has the Nationwide Insurance camera. Brad Keselowski with the Ford EcoBoost camera. Kyle Larson with the Chevrolet onboard. And Kyle Busch with the Toyota onboard camera. Let's check in on what's latest on pit road. How about it, Dr. Jerry Punch?
Key word for points leader Sam Hornish, patience tonight. Do not overdrive, do not overcharge. Greg Irvin, the crew chief, said, Sam, you know, we'll keep tires on it if you'll keep the fenders on it. We learned a lot in the spring. Together we can win this race tonight and maybe win a championship. Vince Welch.
If Austin Dillon is to cut into his 10-point championship deficit tonight, he can afford no mistakes. And crew chief Danny Stockman spoke with Austin specifically about pit lane. Have good in and out laps. Get in and out of the pit box with efficiency. Every position matters. And these positions may come from right here on pit lane tonight. Dave Burns?
Elliott Stadler starts 17th. The best thing going for him, he's done this before. In the spring race, he went from 14th to 6th on the night. He knows how to pass race cars, and he knows what adjustments got him into that position. Elliott could use a good run after last week's 18th place finish. Jamie Little?
Every time Kyle Busch is in the 54 car, expectations are extremely high. Case in point, today in practice when he was 21st and qualified 7th, Kyle and the team were way disappointed, saying the car never was quite right. But keep in mind, Kyle Busch has won half of the races he's entered this year. Tonight, he's going for race win number 10. Marty?
Thank you, Jamie. Check in on the driver of the pace car. And you get a shot. Look at the man. That's Jack Ingram. I can hear Brad Daugherty down there going, Iron Man. And he was an inaugural Nationwide Series champion in 1982. 3 late model championships, 2 in what was the old Busch Series. And this is the 1,000th race. What appropriate that he's here.
Absolutely, and he's used to being out front, too. There's no doubt about that.
Especially on a short track.
Yeah. Take a look at some of these. The all-time leaders. Kenny Wallace in tonight's race. Kyle Busch, of course, in tonight's race. The leader there. And look at the laps led by Kyle. 12,462. And Sam Ard still with that best average finish. Can you believe that? 5.48.
You know, that's great about Jack Ingram going into the Hall of Fame in 2014. Well deserved by that man.
And there he is, a tip of the hat. And I'll tell you what, shake his hand. It's still a vice grip. Pace car is off. Brian Scott has never led a lap on a short track. He's starting on pole. He has selected drivers left. They come out of turn number 4. Tonight's nationwide race from Richmond is green. Brian Scott looks like he's going to snap that jinx. He's going to lead lap number 1, and right behind him is the points leader, Sam Hornish, second in the points. Austin Dillon is third.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth, on the outside, spun his tires to start, kind of slowed things down. Sam Hornish didn't waste any time in making it 3 wide and getting that second spot.
And we were talking about him being patient.
Yeah. Well, we said he was going to be aggressive, too. Patiently aggressive.
22 of Brad Keselowski on the high side there. You're on board with Brian Vickers, who's running 6th.
A lot of yellow cars right there in that shot.
It's the popular color tonight. That's Michael Annett in the 43 right behind him.
Yeah, Vickers one of those drivers now that's kind of got himself out of championship contention, you would think. They need to just go try to win some races.
It's amazing to me. He had those 6 consecutive top 5s. Then the announcement that he was going full-time next year to Cup, and since then they haven't sniffed the top 5.
Yeah, you never know how those things are going to affect. A lot of it's been kind of bad luck. Michael Annett trying to pick up a spot here on Brad Keselowski, and that had a great run here. I believe that was last year that he finished 5th.
That's right, it was. Right behind him, the 99 of Alex Bowman, a team that has been thoroughly frustrated. They've had some good runs, but just haven't had the finishes to show for it. But he did a nice job in qualifying for tonight's race.
Yeah, I know that the other rookie, like Kyle Larson, gets a lot of the attention, and well-deserved. We see Kenseth go by his teammate, Kyle Busch, there. But, you know, both the rookies have done a really solid job, and it's been fun to watch them progress as this year's gone on.
Yeah, it seems like this 2 car of Brian Scott, they found something lately, too. That car, you know, team's always been strong. Richard Childress has always had some of the strongest cars in this series. But it seems like something's really happened with Brian Scott in this last, 6 weeks or so?
Well, in the last 11 races, he has got 8 top 15s. 4 of those in the top 10.
Yeah, we've seen him challenge for wins. And just it has been a nice turnaround to watch. I think some of it's getting comfortable with his surroundings there at RCR. I'd say others are just the more experience that he's getting. But you're right. I think along the time that we saw Austin Dillon really start winning poles and things, this 2 team came alive too.
He's opened up about a 3-car length lead over Sam Hornish. Then it's Austin Dillon, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch. That's your top 5. A little deeper, the 6-car, Trevor Bay. The 5 has Jamie McMurray in it. Now, Kasey Kahne was originally scheduled to drive this car, but made the decision because of what's at stake tomorrow.
Yeah, and I respect that with Kasey. Certainly, these nationwide races and sponsors mean a lot, but on the other side of it, he's after a Sprint Cup championship and trying to get himself situated inside that top 10 where he can take advantage of the wins that he has with the bonus points.
This battle is for 12th, Andy.
Yeah, and for McMurray, I think this extra track time is probably something he looked forward to, and he likes this series too. I mean, he's had some very, very good runs here, and maybe he can help turn this team around a little bit. This 5-car hasn't really performed at the level I thought it should have with Kasey Kahne especially. I mean, you think him as being one of the premier drivers in the series, and they just have not been as good as I expected.
Michael Annett in 7th. Right behind him, Brad Keselowski in 8th. These cars had one 2.5-hour practice session that started at 9 a.m. Eastern this morning. They're racing under the lights tonight. The dash for the first pit stop is to find out just what adjustments you're going to need. Right now, Brian Scott doesn't need any. We're under our first caution here at the Virginia 529 College Savings 250 at Richmond International Raceway. And it is for that car right there. Robert Richardson managed to turn it around, bringing out our first caution on lap 15.
Looks like he, number 23, tried to put it into a little bit of a hole that wasn't there. Robert Richardson goes around.
Pit road's open. Robert Richardson, the only taker so far. The other car is Matt DiBenedetto. He has 3 laps down. He had pulled in before the caution had taken place. That's the 37 car. 3 other cars are behind the wall. Josh Wise, Chase Miller, and J.J. Yaley. So that updates you there. While we've got a quick moment, let's give you the calendar because we've got Sprint Cup Series action, of course, tomorrow here at Richmond on ABC at 7 Eastern. And you know what's at stake if you're a race fan. Last chance to get into the chase. Our next stop for the NASCAR Nationwide Series is at Chicago. That's next Saturday. We'll be on the air on ESPN2 starting at 3:30 Eastern. We hope you can join us then. So after never leading a lap on the short tracks, Brian Scott, who started on pole, has now led a total of 17, and no one has gotten past him yet. You know, we talked about the fact that these guys practice at 9 in the morning. Look at the swing in track temperatures.
Yeah, that's what makes it really tough for these guys. We've heard the guys in Countdown talking about keeping up with this racetrack. And it's very, very hard to do because this thing changes so much over the night, and the grip level changes, and it changes the balance.
Let me ask you a question, Andy. You're a crew chief. How much is it data that you collected during that one practice, or how much is it percentage-wise based on your notes from the past?
Yeah, it's mostly what you've learned in the past. You kind of know what your trends are for your car, your driver. You know what he's wanting. And the driver helps you a ton because he knows what he needs to be better later. Usually these experienced drivers can lead you in the right direction.
Yeah, but you have to know you're not going to get many chances to adjust it tonight. Not many times on pit road, unless you have a problem.
Brian Scott has selected the inside again. He's only led 14 laps coming into tonight. As we mentioned, he's led 18 here. We're going back to green flag racing. Sam Hornish Jr. right alongside. Then Austin Dillon, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Brian Vickers. That's your top 6. Top 3 have gotten away cleanly, but the 54 of Kyle Busch and the 18 of Matt Kenseth got a little action going on. And a little deeper, you can see what's going on with those 3 yellow cars again.
Yeah, one thing I've seen, Matt Kenseth has been trying that upper lane, up about one groove, and I see Brad Keselowski using that now in this restart. Looks like he got a couple of spots.
Yeah, Kenseth looks like he's trying to take that 3rd spot away. We haven't seen anybody venture up there throughout the day in either practice that we saw for the Sprint Cup Series or this Nationwide Series, but Kenseth ready to get up there and go where they're not, so to speak, and see if he can make that work.
Looks like he's found a little grip up there, too.
He is still on the high side, and it looks like he is going to clear Austin Dillon.
I would think that would work probably better in these Nationwide cars that have the less horsepower. It's about momentum, and I think that you can do that. Keep your car rolling up there.
Let's get an update on that 18 car. What are you hearing down there, Vince Welch?
Well, you guys are talking about looking for grip for Matt Kenseth. And Kenseth, that's one complaint he's had, is he feels like he has no grip in this 18 right now. Tight in the middle, zero rear grip, he says. So he's moving it around, trying to find something. But I tell you what, if this is zero grip and he's not happy, I'd hate to see him when he really gets going.
Yeah, I agree with you, Vince. He's got a pretty good race car underneath him in my book.
I was kind of thinking, how bad are the rest of them? What are they?
Really? See, Matt, he went down there and ran the bottom for a lap or two. Now he's back up another lane. And it was working for him.
And notice that Austin Dillon has fallen back into the clutches of the 54 of Kyle Busch.
And as a driver, a lot of times you might want to try something like that. But right now, Austin Dillon has that 54 right on his bumper, and it's not really the time to move up and give Kyle Busch that bottom side.
Check in on the battle for 16th. The 32 is Kyle Larson, the 77 of Parker Kligerman.
Well, we talked about Kyle Larson, just how talented he is, and he really does race well, especially as the race goes on. One of the things that's really hurt him this year, it's not qualifying up front. And he finds himself back in the pack like he is tonight with a good car and having to, battle his way up to the front. And what that does, it uses a lot of car a lot of times before he gets to the front.
But it really gives us something to watch.
Oh, I know. I love watching it.
I bet his crew chief, Trent Owens, by the end of the race, they'll be in the top 5. It seems to be one of the trends. And good reason here, especially Kyle Larson leads all drivers in points earned on the short tracks this year. He's the only driver in the top 10 with top 10s in all 5 races and leads with 4 top 5s. Second place is really starting to heat up. That ill-handling number 18 is putting a lot of pressure on Sam Hornish.
Yeah, you can see Kenseth tried to get a run, thought he might get to the inside before they got down to turn 1, but it's that upper side that's really been working for him as he carries that momentum. If you can get there, you can keep, as we see Keselowski making a pass there.
And that's 2 spots Austin Dillon has lost in the last lap.
Yeah,
Kyle Busch up ahead of
you're right, Andy. He's dropped back to the 6th position now. And he's feeling the heat from Michael Annett in the 43. So right now, second place in the points is going the wrong direction. As we've knocked down a total of 28 laps of the 250 scheduled, Brian Scott has now doubled the whole total number of laps that he's led all year. Don't forget to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch all the live race coverage from Richmond International Raceway. It includes 10 HD live race views, live chat, and a live leaderboard. On board right now is Sam Hornish as he has been bumped back to 3rd place during the break. Watch this slick little move by the 18.
Yeah, it looked like Kenseth had a nice run on the outside, but the lap car was going to get in his way until he made this move. Wow, pretty powerful there.
This is the old Jedi mind trick.
And he's opened up the gap a little bit farther. Doc, what are you hearing on that 12 car?
Well, back in the spring, Sam Hornish had a brake fade problem. So when the race began a little bit ago, his brakes were already glowing hot in turn 3. It said, back off on the brakes, change the bias toward the back. And then when the 18 got up there, he said, let the 18 go. Let him go. We can't afford to use up our brakes early.
Yeah, that was good information. I mean, these crew chiefs can see these brake rotors in the heat as these cars go down in turn 1. You see it right there. And you compare your car to others, and if you think there's more heat in yours than the other cars, you're going to talk to your driver about trying to conserve that a little bit. And I think that was, for Greg Irwin, was a good call to let that 18 go.
Hornish led 83 laps back in the race here in April. Look at this battle. This has got implications for the team or owners championship. The 54 with Kyle Busch, the 22 with Brad Keselowski. Coming into tonight, the 22 car led that battle by 11 points.
Yeah, and Kyle's really the only other person that I've seen kind of go up and try that second groove, if you will, that the 18 car is used to drive himself up to 2nd place. Not working as good for Kyle, though, and it depends on what your car, what you're fighting it right at that time, whether that's going to work.
You know what I love about watching these two? In the 3 short track races this year, let's see, Kyle has 2 wins, both at Bristol, and a 3rd here at Richmond. Brad, in his 3 short track starts, has 2 wins at Richmond and Iowa and a second at Bristol. I mean, how close can you get it?
Yeah, they're just great short track competitors. That's what these two grew up doing. One in Michigan and one out in Las Vegas. And you know, they're just great competitors. Know how to handle these type situations and know what they're looking for in their cars.
Don't count out Michael Annett right now in that 43. He's got the low line underneath Kyle.
Yeah, I was watching lap times just when he was catching this group. He was actually the fastest car on the racetrack for a couple of laps, his 43 way.
So Annett, who started 11th, is moving towards the front.
You know, he had such a great year last year, ended the year on a big streak, as we see Kenseth is closed in on the leader now. But I was going to talk about Michael Annett. That season-beginning injury that he had at Daytona really set this team back, and so it's taken them some time, but see Michael Annett making strides, surely.
Tonight, 43 laps led, 38 in his entire previous 133 races. We're talking about how this team has come on. They've done an excellent job for this race so far. We've still got 206 laps to go, but when it's only 3/4 of a mile, we're clicking them off at 23 seconds a lap. And he has looked very solid. Now, what's happened to the 3 car? Austin Dillon has dropped all the way back to 9th.
Just try to roll the middle of 1 and 2 a little more. Get a little straighter before you go to the gas there. You can afford to slow that middle down a little more there in 1 and 2, bud. Yeah, probably, I mean, they're like on fire.
Yeah, that was Danny Stockman's voice. It sounded like talking about the brakes on fire. And when he's talking about backing the corner up, that'll take a lot of pressure off of the brakes. And sometimes it's hard. When you're starting to slide back, it's really hard to get that driver to actually back off a little bit to try to go fast.
Vince, I know you've got more on this.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating for these guys also because they were so good in practice earlier today and they felt like they had a car that was going to be great tonight. But Danny Stockman said we've got to keep up with the track, so look for them to make changes when they come for that first pit stop. Austin says other than the brakes, the brake issue, he just doesn't feel like he has any drive off the corners. And he feels like that's what's killing him, even though these straightaways are short. No drive off is certainly hampering him.
All right, thanks, Vince, for the update there. Checking in on Regan Smith. Beautiful paint job on that 7 car. Regan's been very busy because of Jimmy Johnson missing today after the birth of his 2nd daughter. Congratulations to Mom, Dad. And Regan put in 174 laps of practice between the 2 cars. Would you worry about a fatigue factor, Andy?
Not with Regan Smith. I think he's in great shape, and he's used to running long races. Having come out of the Cup Series, I don't think it's going to be a problem for him tonight.
Right now he's running 7th. So on the top of your screen, Elliott Sadler now running in the 16th position. He's only picked up 1 spot. He's trying to get back in this championship chase. And the points leader, Sam Hornish Jr., he's running 3rd. We were talking about brakes and how they can sort of glow in the dark. We can give you a great example just looking at Alex Bowman.
Okay, see, his brakes are hotter than most. Let's see just how hot they get when you get in the corner. And they have time to cool on these straightaways. They have fairly long straightaways here, but
you can see theirs. He was going down the back straightaway. You could still see them more red than what they need to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's just a little too hot right there.
And we got flames shooting out the pipes. My goodness, this could be a drag race. One of those top fuel cars lighting up the sky in the nighttime. There is your race leader. He has led every single lap. It has been the kind of night Brian Scott has been dreaming of since he came into the Nationwide Series. He has led all 58 laps. His lead over Matt Kenseth, although it got down to about a bumper length, it's now almost a second.
Yeah, I thought Matt was just going to drive by him for the lead, and then all of a sudden, Brian Scott was able to pull it out a little bit. You see Matt's struggling a little bit with his car.
Wiggled close to the wall right there. 3rd place. Look out for Michael Annett tonight. He has had the best car the last 10 to 15 laps. He has moved up to 3rd. Sam Hornish Jr. is 4th. Rounding out the top 5 is Brian Vickers.
It's great to see Nationwide regulars like Brian Scott and Michael Annett up in the top 5.
I'm afraid to say how many races in a row a Cup regular has won here at Richmond, because I do not want to jinx the Nationwide regulars, especially Brian Scott, who's trying to get the all-important win. You know how many it is? 18 straight races here at Richmond won by a Cup regular, dating back to 2004. And you know who the guy was who won that race in 2004? There was a nationwide regular?
Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch. And there he is. Let's listen in on his radio.
Plowing tight middle, loose as all hell everywhere else. Even in the middle on occasion. Come on, man, just keep fighting it. I know you got your hands full.
Yeah, what he's got going on, he says he's really tight in the middle and he's loose everywhere else. And that what can happen is when you got a car that's tight through the middle, the driver compensates for that. He uses the throttle to turn the car, and what that does is just make you, like you said, he's saying, lose everywhere else.
Vince, what's the latest you're hearing down on pit road on that 54?
Certainly that's been the issue, as you guys have documented what Kyle has just expressed on the radio. Been a little bit unusual this weekend for Adam Stevens, the crew chief in this 54 team. They're usually so spot on, but he struggled a bit in practice, weren't happy with their car. They said they couldn't really find the sweet spot, kept battling both sides of the line, sometimes tight, sometimes loose, and you've seen it's carried over here tonight.
Looking for his 10th win of the season.
You don't see this team struggle like they are tonight very much. Yeah. I mean, they've missed it a little bit, obviously, but it's still early. You know, when you got Kyle Busch behind the wheel, it's never over.
We have 186 laps to go, and we've yet to have our first round of pit stops, and we might stretch that past lap 100 because with the early caution.
We've got about 35 laps before they have to come in.
Travis Pastrana, our first look there, as he goes around Ty Dillon in the 33. And you can see his best career finish was back here in April when he finished 9th in that 60.
I said this is one of his favorite tracks, and I understand that. You hear that from a lot of drivers. As I said earlier, I don't know if you've got a perfect racetrack, but this comes as close to it from a driver's standpoint as what you would ever want. And Travis obviously doing a nice job here again tonight.
Jamie Little, what's the latest you're hearing on that 60?
Well, and he has the most experience here. This is already his 4th start. They're telling him on the radio, great job. Just take care of your equipment, watch your brakes, take care of your tires, but you're fast, so keep it up. He's gained 7 positions already. We have a caution on the track.
Our second caution is out, and I'm looking to see there's no cars into the wall, so we'll have to wait for NASCAR. Give us the official reason, but our second caution comes out on lap 67 as we have debris out on the track. So now, an interesting question, as there's some of the potential debris. Andy, do you want to pit?
Yeah, absolutely. Time to get in here and work on your car a little bit, get some fresh tires.
Looks like everybody's gearing up.
Yeah, there's probably only one guy that's not calling for any changes.
Yeah. Brian Scott has led every single lap. Let me ask you this, Andy. I talked to some of the crew chiefs, but I want your opinion. Would you gamble at all on 2 tires here?
No, not right now. If I'm anywhere in the top 10 or 15, I'm going to get 4 tires, make my adjustments, because what you want to do, like Dale said earlier, you want to make sure that you adjust this car because you're going to get just very few times to do it. And if you do 2 tires and make an adjustment, you really don't know which way, you know, what the car's really doing. So
great point.
There may be some guys that may take a chance at some point in this race on 2 tires, but not right now.
These cars can go between 90 and 100 laps. So it gives you an idea just how long you can be out there. And again, remember, only 4 sets of tires on the ground. The 5th set you start the race with. So the pit crews will get their first opportunity to strut their stuff. Here come the lead lap cars, led by Brian Scott. Let's send it to Jamie Little first.
And Brian Vickers in the 20 said he wants his drive off to be a little bit better. Wedge in the right rear and 4 tires. They'll fill him up with Sunoco fuel. Doc?
Michael Annett says the car is perfect. Don't change a thing. He slides into his pit. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel. Vince?
Matt Kenseth, upper right-hand part of your screen. Loose in and loose off. 4 tires and air pressure adjustment for the 18. Scored Brian Scott. He said he needs a little help on the drive off. Track bar adjustment. 4 tires for Scott in the 2. He's led the entire way so far. Good clean stop, and off they go. He's going to be the first one off pit lane.
Michael Annett stop a little costly compared to some of the others. Vickers picks up 2 spots. And Regan Smith, the big gainer, Kyle Busch. As we mentioned, Michael Annett lost 4 on that round of pit stops. Back here at Richmond International Raceway, Brian Vickers' hopes of getting back into the championship chase just took a serious blow. Too fast speeding off pit road. Let's take a look.
Yeah, they obviously made a good pit stop, but they gained a lot of spots. And you'll see right here comes Brian Vickers down pit road, and he's almost visibly see he was quite a bit fast.
And he's second on the race off pit road, but now he'll be at the back of the field for this restart. It'll be Brian Scott. And as we come to the line, he's on the inside, and he's jumped out to the lead again.
That nice little move that he made there. Matt Kenseth kind of rolled in front of him, and Brian waited till he got up there and then took off. Short track restart at its best.
Regan Smith battling with Brad Keselowski there in the 22. Smith in the 7. See if the guys were able to help Kyle Busch. He's side by side now with Keselowski. Remember, that's the Owners' Championship battles right on your screen. Here comes the 54 once again.
It'd be interesting to see with the adjustments they made on this 54 car. You can make that car turn or rotate in the center better, which may help your looseness on the exit, but none of that's probably going to help. If he had any looseness on the entry, then that could only compound that problem. Like maybe a little contact by those two right there off 4.
Sam Hornish Jr. trying to scratch his way into this mix. He's underneath the 54. Right behind Sam is that 5 of Jamie McMurray. It's right now Scott, Kenseth, Regan Smith, your top 3. Then Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Hornish, and McMurray through position 7. How about Elliott Sadler as we check back in on him? He is 13th, duking it out with Kyle Larson. Started 17th, and hopefully he's hoping that team gave him something to work with here.
I think one thing they gave him was a good pit stop. He must have gained quite a few spots there. He was almost, I think before the caution came out, he might have been 17th or 18th.
Yeah, to clean up that last stop. Nelson Piquet Jr. did get the lucky dog, got him back on the lead lap. We have a total of 25 cars on the lead lap right now. Travis Pastrana in the 60, trying to get around Kyle Larson.
Yeah, whatever adjustment they gave Kyle Larson has made him extremely loose. I've seen him slide the back end of this car quite a bit here since the restart.
Sam Hornish Jr. in 6th. He is the points leader. And right now, you're asking, where is Austin Dillon? As Sam just surrenders that spot to the 5 car right now as McMurray gets around and moves him back. The 3 car of Austin Dillon is back in 12th position right now.
No motor is like boiling. 290.
Did I hear that right? 290? Yeah, he's got 209. I'm guessing that's water temp, and that's way too high. Vince, what kind of problem they fight?
Well, they've been a little bit all over. Made a pretty significant adjustments on that first pit stop. Rubber out of the right rear track bar, trying to get him a little better drive off. And even his dad came over the radio, Mike Dillon, and told him to get into the turns straighter, but not so hard. Maybe that'll help him a little bit get off those turns, but certainly struggling here in the early going.
So we'll keep tabs on Austin Dillon and that water temperature and see how that's going to affect him. And here is the battle for the race lead because Matt Kenseth is closing the gap.
Like Matt Lucas, the crew chief on the 18, turned a few screws on that car and got it a little better for Matt.
He goes back up to that higher line that he made work on the first run.
It's like he can make that work for a while, and then he kind of has to get back away from it. That first run, it worked in the middle part of the run, and by the end of it, it's like he had to get back to the bottom.
14 degrees of banking. DJ, what was always the biggest challenge for you here at Richmond?
How different the two ends drive from a driver's perspective. Just fighting. You fight literally the center of one corner and the exit of another. And off of turn 2 is very, very difficult. The entry to 3 is tough. And mainly because you don't pick that banking up in turn 3 until you're down into the corner. So you always fight loose entering that corner. You try to tighten it up, then you make your car too tight in the center. Jamie Murray, I don't know what they did to this car, but since the restart, he's been passing cars left and right.
He is
mostly left.
Yeah. He has now moved into the 5th position as he bumps Kyle Busch back to 6th. Let's get an update on that 5 from Dave Burns.
Give Jamie credit. He's always been comfortable in a Nationwide car. He's been very comfortable with Junior Motorsports. And this week when he was thrown into this, it just took him some time to get his feet back on the ground. It was okay in the first run. He called it a little loose in, but pretty good. They went up on the track bar, made a little air pressure adjustment. That's all they've done. But I think it's just Jamie saying, okay, time to go.
By the way, in case you're asking, what is Nioxin? It is a product for all men who are, shall we say, follically challenged. Battle for the race lead is picking up again. Here comes the 18. Matt Kenseth trying to figure out which way to go, low or high.
Yeah, I tell you what, where Brian Scott's not lacking is drive off. The car really gets off the corner well. He's trying to see exactly where Kenseth is beating him a little bit. Maybe getting into the corner a little hard and carrying a little more speed to the center of the corner. But we talked about in practice, you got to set your car up here to make passes.
If Matt doesn't make this pass, he's going to have some company behind him.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because Regan Smith, you're right, Andy. Regan Smith is coming on, and so is Brad Keselowski.
And as a driver, you look and see that. You kind of step it up a little bit, trying to make sure that you can maybe make this pass because you want to be able to use both sides of the racetrack. And you can't necessarily do that if these cars catch you from behind.
The top 4 have separated themselves by a full second over 5th place. And the fastest car on the racetrack, well, that's the guy in 5th place, Jamie McMurray. So by the time we come back from break, he might be caught up to that lead group. Welcome back to the Virginia 529 College Savings 250. And don't forget to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. You can watch all the live race coverage right here from Richmond International Raceway. It includes 10 HD live race views, live chat, plus a live leaderboard. During the break, nothing changed up front. Matt Kenseth got close, but as we've seen, every time he gets close, Brian Scott's been able to pull away.
I'm telling you, it's 2 cars for real tonight. Brian Scott's doing a great job. They've got an excellent setup on this thing. I thought that these Cup guys would end up, the cream rising to the top. But it hasn't happened. I mean, this is a good run for this 2 car.
And you look at this, out of the top 6, with Regan Smith being in Jimmy Johnson's Sprint Cup car all day, Brian Scott's the only one that wasn't in a Sprint Cup car, which was a lot more laps to get experience around here. So very impressive. You'll have to look too far back there, too, to see that Jamie Murray's getting ready to join this battle, too.
Saw Matt Kenseth getting a little loose coming out of that corner. It allowed Regan Smith in the 7 to draw in just a little bit more.
But it's not like Brian Scott's holding them up, and they're all kind of gathering behind him, because you can see there's been a gap between him and Matt Kenseth for quite a few laps.
Now, normally, we'd be talking about Kyle Busch in this mix. I mean, after all, he's won 9 times this year in the Nationwide Series. And you're saying, well, wait a minute, he's not in the top 5. That's right. You got to go back to 6th place. And Vince, 6th place for Kyle Busch is like being dead last for everybody else.
Yeah, in that first run, he was loose just about everywhere, but still plowing tight in the middle, so they made adjustments to try to help him out. But early in the run, Kyle was on the radio with Adam Stevens saying it's already too loose in and too tight in the middle, sliding the center of the turn, really having to back it up. And he just doesn't have the drive off that he needs to go forward. So a lot of issues trying to find the right balance for this 54 right now.
DJ, the very thing you pointed out that Brian Scott has is the one thing he's complaining about, drive off.
Yeah, that's where you make passes at this racetrack. You can roll the center, but if you're in groups of cars, you can only go as fast through the center as what the other cars are there. It's that drive off and being able to get back to the throttle and your car turning properly at that point in time.
Good-looking group of race cars right there. That's Justin Allgaier in the 31, the red and white Brandt car. He is leading that group in 10th. Then Trevor Bayne, Austin Dillon, and Elliott Sadler. And here comes the 3 cars side by side with the 6 of Bayne.
You have to be really careful in this situation. Easy to get loose down on the inside. These cars run 160 miles an hour down the straightaway at this racetrack.
Looks like Dillon may be able to clear. He's got it. Maybe a little assist from the 86 there, Richard Ergot, who is a lap vehicle.
Yeah, I know, but Austin Dillon has to be happy that he's finally passed a car. He was getting past most of the first part of this race.
Move him up to the 11th position, and there's Elliott Sadler right now, currently running in the 14th spot.
Yeah, still struggling with this car right now.
Dave, what's the latest update on that 11?
He's up 2 positions from the restart. He could not exit either corner with any drive, so they tried to adjust that on the last run. You would think, since he's gaining positions, he's going in the right direction. Biggest problem during the first run for Elliott was a radio issue. It was very annoying. The key stayed open, and all you could hear was motor noise back from Elliott. So they've got that solved now, and that one, thankfully, is behind them.
DJ, I'm watching the steering wheel. It doesn't look like he's hacksawing.
No, it's not a situation of that. It looks like that, I don't know if the car is just too tight in the center and it's just not carrying any speed, because it doesn't seem like he's having to overly work it.
Let's check up a little farther forward in the field. You got the 7 of Regan Smith, who has 3rd place. You got Brad Keselowski in the 22, who wants it.
Yeah, Keselowski's car looks, again, like it's really strong on these longer runs, and we've seen that a lot of times out of this 22 car, whether it's Brad or Joey driving, whoever, but you seem to get stronger as other cars start to fall off some. This car doesn't fall off as much, so another good setup that Jeremy Bowles has put under him.
And again, we'll remind you the 22 is in that owner and team championship that we like to talk about, and came in with an 11-point lead. Right now, as they're running, it would stretch to 14. Check back in on this battle between Trevor Bayne and Travis Pastrana. This is for 12th on the racetrack.
I think this is the kind of difference that we see in Travis Pastrana, the strides that he's made in his year here, that in these situations before, he couldn't complete that pass, or he would get himself in a bad spot and possibly spin or something. And we see just how much he has come along, and you know how much more of a real racer he is becoming here.
I think it's really a fine line just on being aggressive and driving fast and making these moves and getting in trouble and crashing. That line is so narrow, and he has learned now to how close he can toe that line and not go over it.
A question for both of you. This is the place where he had his best finish ever, 9th back in the spring at April. What is it about this track that suits his driving style?
Well, that's a good question. He just feels more comfortable here. Plus, he knows what he's looking for in his car, and that's the biggest thing. You can be aggressive if you're getting your race cars better. Trying to be aggressive with cars that aren't very good, that you didn't get set up well, is only a recipe for disaster.
Well, Travis Pastrana pulling away right now as we check back in with our race leader. And Brian Scott has set a little mark so far for the 2013 season. This is the most laps led by one car from the start of any single race, 113.
Back at Richmond International Raceway, where the Nationwide Series is on track now, but tomorrow, a very big night. The race to the chase. Join us at 7 o'clock Eastern on ABC. And then next weekend, we'll be in Chicago, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2. That is for the NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Right now, 120 laps complete in Richmond. Brian Scott continues to lead the way, though he is getting a bit of a challenge from Matt Kenseth inside the Quicken Loans ESPN pit studio. I'm Nicole with Rusty, Brad, and Ray. One of the drivers we have been watching all day is the driver in the 7 car, as we watch actually Brian Scott get a little bit closer there with Matt Kenseth. Back to Regan Smith, though. We've been watching him all day because he's been a double-duty driver in the 48 car for Jimmy Johnson. His wife gave birth this morning. Before this race he had logged 177 laps. The experience seems to be helping him as he's riding around in 5th.
Absolutely, and we got to be realistic. It wasn't a super hot, over humid day that we've had here in the past. It really wears the drivers out, but I think he's taken everything he's learned throughout the day, being in and out of that 48 car back into the 7 car, and he's applying it tonight. He looks to be taking advantage of that experience and absolutely running a stellar race thus far.
stellar race for the lead, as well as we might as well talk about Brian Scott. He's not been in the car all day. He may be a little bit fresher, but he also has the right setup.
Yeah, the setup is the big deal to me. There's no doubt, like DJ said, he's very fresh. He's ready to go. But man, I've been fresh before, and that car never handled. This time he's got the car handling good. That old hot rod's running good, but I don't know how long it's going to last, because that 18 car is really eating them up on the top side of the track right now.
Yeah, but this Brian Scott is driving the race of his career. He's got a fast car, but he's not made a mistake all night. He's kept that car out front. He's been door handle to door handle with Matt Kensington. He's pulled away from him. There they were door handle again, pinned on the bottom, and gets that thing going. He's got a good car, but he's doing a great job tonight.
I'm absolutely blown away by Brian Scott's performance thus far.
Absolutely.
I thought at the start of this race, I said, okay, Brian Scott's starting up front. He may lead 5 to 10 laps, then he'll shuffle to the back. This cat is up on the wheel. That old hot rod's driving up off the corner. Brian Scott is for real tonight, Jack.
This is the stat that I can't get over as we watch Jamie McMurray in the 5 get around the 22 of Brad Keselowski. Brian Scott has led triple the laps tonight that he has led, not just tonight, in his entire career, Marty.
Yeah, it's been very impressive. And, you know, you start finding yourself, even though we're supposed to stay totally unbiased, this guy's looking for his first win, and he's been close. And here's an opportunity tonight to maybe not only do that, but break a streak of 18 straight Cup winners here at Richmond if he can just hold on. Deeper in the field, there is the 3 of Austin Dillon and the 11 of Elliott Sadler, 2 of our top contenders for the championship side by side.
Yeah, they'd much rather be side by side up in the top 10. More so probably in the top 5, but both of them struggling, especially this 3 car after starting up front. You know, we really expected more from him. Sadler's able to pick up another spot and make his way towards that top 10.
They are 12th and 13th as Travis Pastrana is looking underneath the 31 of Justin Allgaier. That's just a couple spots ahead, and 10th and 11th.
Yeah, Pastrana he's very impressive here tonight. He's driven his way up through there. He didn't have a particularly good restart earlier on here, but has driven his way past these cars into the top 10 now.
I think it's where Mike Kelly really comes in. You know, he's helped on both sides of this with the 6 car and the 60. I think you know, they've got a really good setup for here. They've had good history here. I think that's one place that team kind of, you know, benefits from that knowledge.
Take a look at that 20 car, Brian Vickers. Remember, he had to restart the back of the field. He was actually 34th in line, 25th on the charts. He's up to 14th.
Wow, Dillon really struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vickers is going to need another caution here at some point in time to get himself back in the mix of this. And he's got a fast race car. Showed that in the first run. We will have to get pit road speed figured out.
Little contact. And remember, this is reminiscent of the April race. The 3 got into the 31, took them both into the wall.
He's trying to make another run back at Austin Dillon.
Yeah, Allgaier's really struggling with this car. I know he had high hopes for it. They thought they had a good practice session.
I talked to him after practice, and he said, this is the best race car I've had. I said, here at Richmond? He goes, no, I'm talking about for the whole year. And then we heard on the radio right after the qualifying run, he said, I've got a vibration. And I'm not sure they figured out what that vibration really was. Here comes the 54 side by side with the 22. That's Kyle Busch underneath and going around. Uh-oh, and now the 31 is into the wall, and our caution is out. Third caution.
You barely kissed it. They had a tire going down. It looked like they're all up, though.
He just nudged the wall. You see the damage on the back.
I think I got a flat tire.
He's thinking the same thing.
This doesn't look like there's one flat.
No, it sure doesn't, but the car was certainly going.
Can't tell. I got down in there under the 6 and could not hold it at all. Like it just took off.
Battling for 13th at the time. Let's take another look.
We talked about this very situation of being down on the inside of a car, how you lose, aerodynamically, you lose a lot of air on your spoiler.
He was already loose, so we'd seen the lap or 2 before that. He was really struggling with rear grip.
Watch Carl Larson here.
Nice job to hold that.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do. You close your eyes and it breaks a little bit. No, I'm sure you
Spoken by a true experienced veteran.
Exactly. I've done it before, but I'm sure that Kyle Larson had his open and drove his way by there. But it was a nice job of avoiding that.
And we're on board with Kyle right now. So this ties our record low for cautions here at Richmond International Raceway. It's happened 4 times prior. And with 116 laps to go, we're past halfway, but not really in the window to be able to go the distance.
Yeah, they're in the window for tires, so.
Oh, yeah.
You see Brian Scott's team can stay up on it and get him back out in front of everybody again.
Well, they got that #1 pit stall down there. I swear, I believe that's helping more than anything tonight.
Landon Castle will get the free pass. He'll be the 22nd car back on the lead lap. Here they come. Scott, Kenseth, McMurray, your top 3. Let's send it down to Dave Burns.
McMurray gives up 3rd position. He'll get 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and a track bar adjustment just a little bit loose. Doc?
Loose end, tight in the middle, and put that round back in the left rear. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, Regan Smith. Vince.
Matt Kenseth likes his car, but he said for it to be better, they need to snug up the entry. So an air pressure adjustment coming for the 18 with 4 tires. And then the 2 of Brian Scott, he needs to turn better. It's going to be an air pressure adjustment and wedge for Brian Scott. Race off pit road, and again, the 2 is the first off.
That #1 pit stall pays big dividends, and it did for Brian Scott. You can see Regan Smith and Kyle Busch picked up a spot each at the expense of Jamie McMurray. Brian Vickers picked up 3. Coming back to green flag racing with Brian Scott, who's led every lap so far tonight in the #2, and he gets another good restart here. Kyle Busch right behind the 7 of Regan Smith. You're asking what happened to the 22? He came in 6th. Well, Brad Keselowski, the pit crew, had a jack problem. It fell off. He restarted in 15th position. And there he is, trying to work his way back. That's Parker Kligerman in the 77. Right in front of him, the 3 of Austin Dillon. Meanwhile, Regan Smith looking for 2nd place, side by side with the 18.
Yeah, and Brian Scott looking in his mirror down the straightaway thinking, I love what I'm seeing back there. The boys keep battling.
He has opened up a 2nd lead, Andy, and they have barely touched this car all night.
I'm telling you, he has not made one single bobble. Every restart's been flawless, and his car's good. He's not made one mistake. I am super impressed with Brian Scott and his 2 team tonight.
I mean, we always talk so often about how you guys have to chase the track to keep up with the changes, and they haven't had to do a thing.
Yeah, they've hit it right for sure.
Wow. It's been impressive.
Yeah, a lot of times you do think you see a car that's really good in the beginning of the race. Sometimes you worry, hey, it might be too good at this point because the track's probably going to change. But this 2 car's just been flawless. I mean, all the way through every run.
Saw Regan Smith as he was getting swallowed up by a couple of cars. He's been bumped back to the 4th position now.
One thing I will watch on this 2 car in this run is he talked about his car a little tight in the center, so you go trying to take that out. He had great drive off. That's why Matt Kenseth never could pass him. He tried every way, could never pass him, so we'll see in a longer run if he's able to continue to have that drive off.
Well, the other thing that he's going to be fighting, these other guys have been working on their cars, too.
Yeah.
They've had 2 opportunities. They've got some really good drivers back there now that have had 2 chances to make changes to their cars and adjustments. You got Matt Kenseth, then Kyle Busch. Right behind him is Jamie McMurray.
Austin Dillon, you see him side by side again with Travis Pastrana as those guys are battling for the 13th position.
Yeah, he's battling back there at 13th. His brother's up in the top 10 in 7th spot. Kyle Dillon is.
Guy driving the 33 tonight. Right behind, you see Kenny Wallace. Start number 898 in his NASCAR career. That covers all 3 National Touring Series. And there is Brian Scott. His lead is now up to 1.2 seconds. This is the biggest of the night.
Well, these guys still going at it.
Brad Keselowski has moved around and has now moved into the 11th position, so he's picked up 4 since the restart. There is the gap between first place Brian Scott, second place Matt Kenseth. Third is now Kyle Busch as they're slowly but surely dialing that car back in. Jamie McMurray fourth, and Regan Smith rounds out your top 5. Vince, what's the latest on the 2 car?
Well, the one complaint he had was that the fact he just felt like he wasn't turning well enough in the center to stay out front and hold off Matt Kenseth. So they went for a wedge adjustment there during that stop. We'll see how that plays out over the course of this run, but there's no doubt it has been a great performance by this 2 team tonight. Keep in mind, Brian Scott's worst racetrack is here. His worst average finish of all tracks they run is this one at Richmond. So why so much better tonight? Well, they leaned heavily on Kevin Harvick's race notes as he worked with crew chief Ernie Cope and has had much success here at Richmond. They went to that data, that setup, and they have hit on something big time tonight with that too. So a total team effort for the RCR camp tonight.
What really makes that interesting to me is that Ernie Cope told me of all the drivers he's had in that 33 car, Kevin Harvick is like way out there on the loose scale compared to everybody else. And here that setup is working for Brian Scott. Now take a look at this from the race start here at Richmond. Some pretty good company that Brian Scott has joined tonight. Casey Kane, Sam Ard, Tommy Ellis, and of course Mr. Harvick. Now, should I give you the down note about this? There's only one thing that sort of jumps out when you look at the stats as we watch the battle between the 3 and 11. The driver leading the most laps has won only 1 of the last 4 races here at Richmond.
Yeah, Brian Scott doesn't want to hear that.
I know he doesn't want to hear it.
And as drivers, I told y'all, you only listen to stats that benefit you.
I know right now there's a lot of people pulling for Brian Scott to win this race. This would be a popular win in the garage area as well. There's your top 5. The only driver to lead every lap in his first win was Dale Jarrett. Orange, August of '86, 150 laps. Way to go, big guy. It's been a great night of racing here at Richmond International Raceway. We've got 92 laps to go so far tonight. Brian Scott has led every lap, but behind him there's been a lot of action. Robert Richardson going for a ride, a little bumping and rubbing. Crowd has been loving it. The 31 of Justin Allgaier, well, he slid into the wall. Not serious damage. He's back out and running. And there is the race leader with the number 18 of Matt Kenseth right behind that number 2. We have a total of 22 cars on the lead lap. Only 4 cars are out of this race. Matt DiBenedetto, Josh Wise, Chase Miller, and J.J. Yale. So that gets you pretty much up to date with 90 laps to go. And every time we've seen this act, Andy, the 2 cars been able to pull away.
Matt's making another run at him, though.
And once he was able to clear after that restart, he cleared Regan Smith, fell back about 1.2, 1.3 seconds. He steadily beat Brian Scott about a 10th a lap.
He can get to right here, though. It seems like he just cannot complete a pass. I don't know if it's just a an air thing or whether, like you say, it's just the difference in the way Brian Scott's car is getting up off the corner.
2 seconds behind these 2 is Jamie McMurray in 3rd, and Kyle Busch is now running in 4th, 2.9 seconds behind the race leader. Let's go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance, pick it up with 5th place, and that'll be Dr. Jerry Punch.
You know, Regan Smith had finished 21st or worse in 5 of the 7 races he's run here. He was 15th in practice, and he goes over and jumps in the 48 Cup car for 3 hours, comes out of that car, and suddenly he's Superman-like. He qualifies 8th, and now he's running 5th. By the way, they can make it all the way now on fuel. They have been told, save those rear tires. Now behind him, in 6th spot, also able to make it on fuel, is a 43 car, Michael Annett. He was a rocket in the first run. They came in and put scuffed tires on, and he slowed down. Now they've gone and put sticker tires back on, and the 43 is a rocket, once again, moving his way up. Behind him, the 22 car. The efforts, well, you heard what happened on the pit stop. The car fell off the jack. You know, and Brad Keselowski said we're good on longer runs, but prior to that, he had worn out the right rear tire and said, I've got no rear grip. So now he's trying to be very patient, take care of those tires because they can make it on fuel. Jamie.
Battle of the yellow cars tonight. Look at Brian Vickers back up into the top 10 after a speeding violation in 3 segments on pit road on the first pit stop. He's battling his way back to the front. Car is pretty good at this point, and the pit crew's getting it done tonight. Marty?
So let's go back to the battle for the race lead because it is just that close between the 2 of Brian Scott, who has led all 166 laps, and Matt Kenseth, who is getting really tired of looking at the back of that 2 car.
Yeah, that 2 car, I watched that, and it reminds me of a guy that's down in the pit studio. When you raced against him, Rusty Wallace was one of the best at making a car launch. And you might beat him through the center, you might beat him into the corner, but you weren't ever going to pass him because he got such a good jump off the corner. And that's exactly what that 2 car that he drove looked like.
Rusty, you want to jump in here?
Well, I appreciate those nice compliments. There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, DJ's right. I mean, I talked in a countdown show about how to get around this racetrack, in my opinion. And definitely, I would always target the exit of turn 2 and the exit of turn 4 so you could drive straight up off the corner, not spin a tire. And that's what looks to me like what's going on with Brian Scott right now. I haven't seen that car get out of shape, nice and flat up off the corners. I think he's doing a great job. We all have been talking about it. He's having the race of his life. And honestly, I like seeing that 2 car up front for a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen that 2 car up front a lot here at this racetrack.
You know, when we did our nationwide up to speed, you noticed we did not mention Sam Hornish Jr. He had been running in the top 5 all night long. He has dropped back to the 10th position. So whatever change they made on the last stop, it was not all positive. Dr. Jerry Punch, what are you hearing?
Well, they made 2 rounds on the track bar change, and Sam took off, and the car was good, but now it has gotten so tight in the center, he cannot roll the middle of the corner. He cannot get the car to turn. They told him to be very, very careful. Remember, you don't want to overuse those brakes. Well, hopefully we'll get a yellow, and we'll fix it back. We'll undo the track bar change we made a moment ago. But right now, very tight in the middle and going backwards.
Well, and what it's done is tightened up the points race again because Austin Dillon is right behind Sam Hornish Jr. in 11th. Elliott Sadler is running in 12th. So it's basically 11 points separating. They came in 10 points separated. So we still have 79 laps to go. Everybody that loves the underdog story is rooting for that man in the 2 car right now. Brian Scott looking for his first ever win in the Nationwide Series. And hold on, we've got a caution on the track. All right, we have our 4th caution. Just came out just as we were going to break. And with 77 laps to go, we are going to see pit stops by all the front runners, led by Brian Scott. Dave Burns, you're up.
They went down on the track bar last time. Jamie McMurray said that made my car just a little bit tight. They'll go back up on it. 4 tires. Vince?
For Matt Kenseth in that 18 and Kyle Busch. First of all, Kyle Busch in the 54. Just good on the short run, but it goes away too quickly. As far as Kenseth is concerned, chassis adjustment on that 54. As far as Kenseth is concerned, still needs help on the entry. And the 2 of Brian Scott got to have more drive off. That's his only complaint in that 2.
And Brian Scott with a 12.8 second stop comes out with the lead again. Kyle Busch picks up a spot. So does Regan Smith, Michael Annett, Jamie McMurray, the loser there, dropping 3. Back here at Richmond International Raceway, our 4th caution of the night, and the reason for it is an incident involving Jamie Dick and Jeff Green.
Yeah, these 2 of them are side by side right here. I'm not sure if Jamie Dick was trying to get to pit road. You see all the smoke from, looks like he locked up the tires.
And courtesy of our over-the-wall Jamie Scooter Edwards, the jackman on the 14, this is the damage that they had to work around in pit lane, and here's what it was like. Try moving sheet metal. Gives you an idea just how hard it is. So they got him back out. And now Jamie will get to take a little breather of his own. Brian Scott is still our race leader. He has led all 178 laps, but it has been anything but a dull race. While we've got this 4th caution, let's talk about what's coming up because it's so important tomorrow night. Last chance to get into the chase. Our Sprint Cup coverage starts at 7 Eastern over on ABC. And the next stop for the Nationwide Series will be at Chicagoland next Saturday. That's at 3:30 Eastern. That's on ESPN2. We'll hope you'll join us for both those races tomorrow and next Saturday. All right, let's reset it for you. It'll be Brian Scott, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, the top 3, then Regan Smith, Michael Annett with another good strong run going here. And Jamie McMurray through 6th place. Then it's Brad Keselowski, Brian Vickers, Austin Dillon back into the 9th spot, and Sam Hornish Jr. rounding out your top 10. See what changes everybody's made, Andy.
I'm looking at this restart. That 2 car's been really, really good and has been able to keep the lead every time. But now you got Matt Kenseth and Kyle Busch, 2nd and 3rd. It's going to be tough for him to keep pulling these flawless restarts off.
You see Nelson Piquet Jr. gets the lucky dog. That's the 2nd time tonight he has gotten the free pass. And it gives us a total of 23 cars back on the lead lap. Wow. 2 cars rocket ship. Oh, we're going to try and whoa, hang on to it, Matt.
Yeah, Kyle Busch moved up, and it going down in that corner, thinking he might go to the outside of the 2 car, and that put Matt Kenseth up in the marbles.
We still got 3 wide back there. Vickers backs out. Probably a smart move there, because that could have been disastrous for both of them. That has cost a lot to the 18.
Yeah, and if this thing should go green to the end, I don't think that Kyle Busch has the car to keep up with this 2. Matt Kenseth could do that, and he'll have a hard time rebounding from that.
Austin Dillon right now on that restart. Boy, he got a nice jump. He is battling and holding on to the 5th spot at the expense of Regan Smith.
And the man he's trying to chase down for the points, Sam Hornish, is back in a hornet's nest right now.
Hornish dropped back to 15th.
Yeah, you can see what the points are as they run.
Yeah.
Locked up in a tie.
It was 10 when they came in, and there is the 12 with the 11 right underneath. And whoa, little contact there as the car, Brian Vickers, the 20, got a little loose.
Oh, man, look at this.
That's why you don't want to be back there.
3 wide through the corner. Hang on. Still a lot of rubbing going on. Hornish trying to hug the bottom of the racetrack in the 12. That's Kyle Larson that you're riding along with. Right in front of us, Ty Dillon in the 33.
I can assure you, this is really tense moments for Sam Hornish right now. He's back in a group of drivers that some in their first year and some don't even have a full year of experience in the Nationwide Series. Not saying they're not good drivers, it's just they don't have that experience, and you'd rather not be racing around them as they're racing each other.
Well, it was a thing we talked about before the start of the race, too. When we came here in April, nobody's really talking about championship. You're just trying to get good results. Well, now, that's totally different at this stage. Hornish is in a dogfight, and he knows it. And he finally gets a little breathing room, Andy.
Yeah, he had to work hard to get him some breathing room, though.
That's one thing that I worry about this 12 team. Are they being a little too cautious in their approach to this championship? Because I can assure you this 3 car, they're going to get out and run hard. Even though they fell back early on, it was just a matter of their car wasn't handling. But now Austin Dillon's worked his way back up inside the top 5 now.
Yeah, he's made a nice recovery.
He is running 5th. And Sam Hornish Jr. in 13th. All right, let's go back to the restart. Keep an eye on the 6 car of Trevor Bayne and the 12 of Sam Hornish Jr. Right side of your screen. See the 6 right there?
Yeah, Trevor forced it 3 wide in the middle. Ends up getting into the left rear, Sam.
Oh. Nice recovery, but it cost him a lot of spots. So the battle continues. That's Ty Dillon in the 33 right behind the 12 of Sam Hornish.
Yeah, and Ty Dillon, being a young man there, he gave Sam Hornish a little bit of a break there. He had a big run up on the outside of him. Hornish used up a lot of the racetrack.
Hornish trying to claw his way back. He's duking it out with Parker Kligerman right now for the 12th position. You're not missing anything up front. Brian Scott is still in control of this race. A man who has never won in the Nationwide Series has led 190 laps tonight. Can he win it? Welcome back to the Virginia 529 College Savings 250 here at Richmond International Raceway. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. We are watching a career night performance for the man behind the wheel of that number 2, Brian Scott. He has led all 198 laps. You know, guys, 17 times in the Nationwide Series, a driver has led every lap in a race, but none of those races were over 200 laps. He could make some history tonight if he can keep this up.
He's going to have his hands full, I think. Brad Keselowski, we heard him say before the race that what's made them so successful this year is their late race charges and restarts. So if we see another caution, Brad's already moved now back up into second spot. He lost some spots when he had a problem on the pit stop, but you know, that's the guy I'd worry about if I was Brian Scott.
Yeah, fell back to 15th and managed to come back to second. Now there's Kyle Busch. You can see his cycle right now as he is running third, about 1.6 seconds back, DJ.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I didn't think Kyle and them had made enough adjustment on this 54 tonight. It's just not the car really to contend with Brian Scott, I don't believe. The 22 car, they've made some adjustments. Since I saw them on when I made a comment earlier about their car being good on a long run, they lost some spots then. I think Brad had kind of run the right rear tire off of. They made some air pressure adjustments and maybe looked like they've got this thing ready to contend and see if anybody can pass Brian Scott before this night's over.
Drop back and check in on Regan Smith as he is running in the 5th position. He's gotten around Austin Dillon, bumping Dillon back to 6th. McMurray is running in 7th, the 3rd car in that pack. There you see the 5. Remember when Matt Kenseth got a little high, fell back? He's right behind. There you see just a glimpse of him there in the 18 as he is running in the 8th position. He's having trouble getting back up.
Yeah, he didn't get just a little high. He got way up out of the groove, lost a ton of spots. And I just don't think he's going to be able to make a recovery to contend for the win.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, here goes Jamie McMurray around Austin Dillon. So Dillon, as the run goes longer, it seems his car falls off.
Yeah, just what I was going to say, Maury, just watching that. You know, he had a lot of speed there on the restart, but just not able to keep that going and now losing some spots here.
Let's check in on that 5 car. Let's get an update from Dave Burns.
You guys have seen that he has lost positions on pit road. I think every time he's come down pit road. So for Jamie, it's been about passing cars to get himself back into contention. The problem now is he rated it about 10 laps ago. I just don't have the grip I had earlier. He got around Austin Dillon, but it may be tougher sledding for him as they go 3 wide behind him.
Dillon hangs on to the spot, though, but here comes Brian Vickers. Now, remember, Vickers had that speeding penalty earlier, has fought his way back, got into the top 10, and with 45 laps to go, finds himself side by side with Matt Kenseth and right behind the 3 of Austin Dillon.
Then you see the 31 in the mix there. Justin Allgaier, after that spin and a little contact with walls, worked himself back into that 10th spot.
And it looks like this is settled down at least for the moment. Brian Scott, there he is, 206 laps he's led. He's got 44 more to go. Back here at Richmond International Raceway, we are watching what potentially could be a history-making night in the NASCAR Nationwide Series by the driver, that number 2, as Brian Scott has led every single lap so far. We've got 36 to go in a 250-lap race. Behind him is Brad Keselowski. He's cut it down to 0.7 of a second. Kyle Busch running 3rd, 2 seconds behind the race leader. And let's give some love to Michael Annett. He is running 4th, 3 seconds behind, with Regan Smith rounding out the top 5.
That last time off of turn 2 is the first time I've really seen this 2 car hang the back end out any at all.
There's some pretty heavy traffic. This 22's been running him down. We saw Matt Kenseth, though, chase down Brian Scott, get even closer than this, and still not be able to do anything with him.
Meanwhile, the battle between the 3 and the 31. Remember, these guys got into it in the April race. Austin Dillon in the 3 got into the 31 of Justin Allgaier. He was not very happy about it. Even mentioned it this week. but so far they stay clean and they continue. Nelson Piquet is the third car there in the 30.
Nice job by Allgaier's crew to get that car fixed back up, because he was certainly struggling quite a bit before he made that spin.
Now we should point out Piquet is now 2 laps down in 24th position. We have 21 cars on the lead lap.
See, one thing may have helped Allgaier's car. He backed at the wall. I believe he's jacked that right rear spoiler up a little bit.
Have a little extra downforce on the short track.
In the right direction, anyway.
Yeah. It's the first time he's been in the top 10 all night, so he's worked his way up despite this minor setback when he crunched the wall.
Nothing else will tell him what direction they need to work in on these things.
I don't think he wants to try that adjustment again.
Yeah, might bang it a little too hard next time.
See Nelson Piquet, he's a couple laps down that 30. He's trying to get by Austin Dillon. So it just shows you how much Austin is struggling.
Matt Kenseth right behind there, really struggling since he got pushed out of the groove there on that restart.
Well, and the thing we should point out is Piquet's got fresher tires. He pitted back at lap 192. And the other guys pitted on lap 174. There is the race leader, the 2 of Brian Scott. He has managed to get through this lap traffic, and now those 2 cars could be holding up second place, the 22 there of Brad Keselowski.
I think all night, every time that we saw Kenseth make a run at it, it's been more lap traffic. Brian Scott kind of really taking his time, and it could be because he really needs the bottom of the racetrack. And if you get beside a car there, it impedes your progress just a little bit, but he's always been able to stay in front.
Is he pulling a page from Kyle Busch? I mean, is he just letting the car breathe until somebody puts a little pressure on and then says, okay, it's time to go again?
Yeah, I think he's just saving his car. He knows how good a car he has, and he's not abusing it, and that's what you have to do in this situation.
Well, so far, this could be a history-making night in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and we'll explain it all for you if you just stay with us. Brian Scott is the man at the moment. And there's the view from downtown Richmond as you look over towards Henrico County, where you can see the lights from Richmond International Raceway. As we have just gone under our 5th caution, the 44, you can see the car right there, Hal Martin behind the wheel, as he made some contact with the wall, and we'll take a look and show you exactly what happened.
Yeah, here's Hal Martin. See, it's like that Sam Hornish behind him gave him a little ride up to the wall.
And right there is where he brushed the wall.
Inside 32.
Sounds like Sam was on brakes, just couldn't get it down. All right, here we go. With 20 laps to go, everybody's coming that's on the front row. And Doc, it's yours.
Well, they're going to go back on the track bar adjustment for Brad Keselowski. The car actually would have been so loose all night. Now it got tight. Said go back on the track bar. No gas. Going to put tires on it. Bottom left screen, Michael and Ned. That car has been so fast they've made no adjustments. Not going to do it again. 4 tires there. Vince.
Kyle Busch says the car's not rolling the center, so they're going to go back on the air pressure adjustments they made last time. As far as Brian Scott, he says it's great. 4 tires, no changes for the guy who's led every lap tonight, and he's the first one off pit road again.
Well, the pit crew's done their job for him. Brian Scott's done his job. Kyle Busch picks up a spot at the expense of Keselowski. Vickers picks up 3. What'd you say the last time? Hope he wasn't speeding.
Hope he wasn't speeding.
Okay.
We got called earlier.
Yeah. And look at Elliott Sadler with a +4. There's Brian Scott's team. They know what's at stake tonight. Yeah.
Yep. Great stop, guys.
And here is the line by over a car length. So, Brian Scott, less than 20 laps away from his first career nationwide victory.
Yeah, he's going to have a man that knows how to restart on his outside this time. And not that Matt Kenseth doesn't.
All right, let's talk to our in-race reporter since we've got a chance. DJ?
Hey, Elliott Dale Jarrett, you there? Hey, Elliott Dale Jarrett, you with us?
Elliott Dale Jett, you with us?
Well, obviously, we've got a little problem with our communication between our English reporter here in the booth. All right, remember what happened when Brian Scott, Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski were at Indianapolis earlier this year? Look where they are right now. First, second, and third. Let's go back and show you this. On the restart, look at the 2 car. Gets underneath both the 54 and the 22.
Yeah, they had a great battle there as Kyle Busch got loose.
We thought that might be his first win, but no, Kyle took it away from him. And then Keselowski came around to take second. So he finished a very nice third. But tonight could be a different story. All right, let's talk about the history that could be made tonight. Not only could it be his first career win, but 18 races since a nationwide regular has won here at Richmond. And the first time anybody would lead every lap in a race over 200 laps to take the win. And here he goes again with another great restart.
It was a great restart. I thought Kyle Busch might get to the outside of him, but Brian Scott made sure that wasn't going to happen. He sees 2 of them racing behind him. He likes that sight.
Keselowski and the 22 underneath. A lot of rubber crash into the wall, and it's Kenseth up into the wall, and another caution.
Yellow zone. Yeah, they were 4 wide getting down into turn 3.
We know that won't work.
I believe Sam Hornish might have been a part of that 4 wide situation. So many yellow cars, it was hard to tell.
He restarted 9th, Kenseth did, and you can see the damage on the right side, especially that right front wheel.
Yeah, all the trouble for Matt started back quite a while ago when he got pushed up out of the groove on an earlier restart.
It's Austin Dillon in the 3.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's 4.
Man, look at that. No way that was going to work.
I don't even know how just 1 car came out of that with that damage.
There's Elliott Sadler getting by it. And here comes the 12.
Yeah, Sadler was glad that his pit crew did a great job of getting him out that last stop. Oh, that could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, Michael Annett managed to woe it down.
Maybe not from Kenseth's standpoint, but it.
Give you the view from Kyle Larson's onboard.
Clear low.
Yeah,
Stay low. There you go.
In that situation.
Clear high. All clear.
Or maybe Justin Allgaier could have eased up a little bit and made some more room.
Yeah, Austin Dillon did a great job here.
Come on with it. Keep coming.
Boy, but he lost a ton of spots.
Yeah, he did. And Sam Hornish being aggressive there down the bottom. But if you're going to be aggressive, that's the place to be. You got yourself in position. He could have gotten down even further down the apron and probably avoided anything that may have been happening.
Well, this time by, there will be 13 laps to go. Matt Kenseth is out of the car. Jamie Little's caught up to him.
And he ran second a good portion of the race tonight. And right there on that restart, 3 wide, 4 wide, you're in the wall. What happened?
Well, we should have been back there to start with. I mean, another restart. I was on outside, and 54 just ran me up in the fence, and that's what got us back there. So really disappointing. I feel bad for racers and all our partners to make this happen. Matt did a good job. Picker did a great job. Had us in a good position. Just restarting on outside was a disadvantage by itself. And then when you got ran up in the 3rd and 4th groove, it was hard to recover. And just, back there, it was going to be crazy.
Thanks, Matt. We'll be back in the car next weekend at Chicago. Marty?
All right, thank you, Jamie. Let's check in on the 31. This was the radio transmission right after the incident.
What's he pointing at me for? I don't know. You don't have a reason to. I mean, 4 wide, he came down on you. Yeah, it's in 4.
Yeah, I don't know who you point the finger at when you got 4 wide.
Yeah, no. Somebody's going to be mad, though, most of the time.
And that's usually the case in all of our short track races. Go back and take another peek at this, give you one more look and watch the 31.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if there's anything that you think, I mean, could Allgaier have backed out knowing he was in that situation a little bit and got in behind the 3? Possibly, but they're racing. It's getting towards the end of the race.
All right, well, Richard Childress, of course, is the team owner of that 2 car, as well as his grandson in the 3. Let's listen on the radio conversation between Richard and Brian Scott.
Boy, them restarts like you have all night, buddy, and you'll be just fine, nice and smooth. Don't override it.
4.
Well, we're about to find out. Pace car's pulled off. Can he do it one more time? No, he's got wheel spin.
He's still going to be fine if he'll just make sure he does what he's been doing all night right here.
Keselowski on the outside. There's contact. And for the first time tonight, oh no, and we've got a crash involving Travis Pastrana and the 4 of Landon Cassill, and another caution.
Hustle up here if you can get it. Try not to go lap down.
We were running 16th and 18th.
It looked like Keselowski had already cleared the 2 car. It actually got in front of him before the caution came out.
We'll check with NASCAR to see if that is the case.
Hey, you see this Travis Pastrana. Looks like he got tagged by the 4 car, Landon Cassill, who may have been getting some help from Johanna Long.
Yeah, just typical short track restarts. We see happen a lot here at Richmond.
Well, and we can tell you the record is just been broken, as Brian Scott will not lead every lap here tonight.
Yeah, saw what he was trying to do there. What he'd been doing most of the night was letting that outside car kind of roll up, get just in front of him where he could see that, knowing that they had to back out of the gas a little bit, and then he tried to nail the throttle. When he nailed it that time, he was really spinning the tires. Keselowski was able to take advantage and get the lead.
Guess who gets the free pass? Come on, just don't look at the scoring monitor. Who's gotten it all night?
Oh, Nelson Piquet.
There you go, for the 3rd time in tonight's race. The 30 car, Nelson Piquet Jr. gets the free pass. It'll put him back on the lead lap. It'll give us 23 cars on the lead lap. Eight laps to go now as this caution continues. Our 7th of the night. Boy, we had like bang, bang, bang when it comes to the yellow. First part of this race was clean, mean, and green. One of the cars we never got a chance to update you on was Parker Kligerman. He went out several laps ago. In fact, back on lap 210, they had an electrical issue that put him behind the wall. All right, let's see if we can talk to our in-race reporter. Give it a try, DJ.
Hey, Elliot, Dale Jarrett, you with us?
I get it. See, we're coming this time. You don't want to go right here.
Hey, Elliot, Dale Jarrett, you with us?
Yeah, I have you, DJ.
I know you're getting ready for a restart, but looks like you've made a lot of gains with this car. How about these last few laps?
It's going to be pretty wild. We see everybody getting kind of antsy on these restarts. I've been fortunate enough to be in the right line, so I think there's still a lot of excitement going to happen here in front of us and behind us. Everybody's trying to protect their position. 7 laps to go. Everybody's tired of getting some laps on them. Should be a good finish for you guys.
All right, thanks for talking. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Okay, as we go back to the last restart, take another look. Regan Smith will restart 3rd. Elliott Sadler 7th, Sam Hornish Jr. 8th, Austin Dillon 12th. There's the tires.
It's also Brad Keselowski just did a good job on that restart.
Okay, here we go with Brad Keselowski now having the low line as the race leader. Brian Scott, as we mentioned, Regan Smith, Kyle Busch, Trevor Bayne, that's your top 5, and we're back to green flag racing, and boy, Keselowski. Regan Smith trying to bump Brian Scott back to 3rd and maybe to 4th. Scott holds on to the 3rd position. Meanwhile, Keselowski pulls away. Next time by, there'll only be 5 laps remaining. There's Sam Hornish Jr., the points leader in the 12 car, as he has moved back into the 6th position.
See Trevor Bayne there battling. What a great job he's done, too. He fell outside the top 10 a couple of different times.
Ryan Vickers in the 20, right behind Hornish. Here comes Bayne taking a look under the 54 of Kyle Busch. Can't get the job done. Next time by, 3 laps to go. And it looks like the streak may continue with the Cup regulars winning here in the Nationwide Series.
Save a little if you need it.
Yeah, I think a lot of that just has to do a lot of times with the experience of a lot of racing and on these short tracks and knowing what it takes at the end of these races to win.
I like the way we heard Brad Keselowski call it, basically. He said that these late race restarts is where he's been able to win a lot of races.
Oh, 3 wide here, and that's Austin Dillon on the high side, and he has to give. Gets a tap from the 32 of Kyle Larson. 2 laps to go. The battle continues between Kyle Busch, Trevor Bayne, Sam Hornish Jr. as the white flag comes out for Brad Keselowski. Keselowski fell all the way back to 15th as now Brian Scott gets back to 2nd. Has a 1.6 second lead, half a lap to go. It's going to help him in the Owners' Championship, and it's going to be victory number 25.
Great job, everybody. 5 for Hurt. Great job. Lost right there. Never lost.
Yeah, what they're talking about, that car is undefeated.
Yeah, it's got to be heartbreak for Brian Scott. He led 239 of 250 laps, and he'll finish 2nd tonight.
That's why you're a champion right there, bud.
And as we mentioned, the streak continues. 19 races now in a row where a Cup regular has won here at Richmond. And there is the 22 of.
You know, that 2-car Brian Scott looked unbeatable all night long.
You can't even call what happened a mistake. You know, it's
not really
starting. It's a chance, and it's things that are happening.
Talk about Brad Keselowski. The last now 4 short track races, 3 wins, 2 here at Richmond and Iowa. Oh, and a 2nd back at Bristol.
Pretty strong.
Pretty strong. And there's Brian Scott. And
disappointing 2nd place finish he's ever had.
No words needed there. Stay with us. We'll talk to both of them when we come back here to Richmond. The thrill of victory, said so many times by Jim McKay, and the agony of defeat. The thrill goes to the 22 of Brad Keselowski. The agony to that man right there, Brian Scott, and he is not a happy camper. Let's go down to victory lane first and talk to the man who has won this race, Brad Keselowski.
A beer shower in victory lane. Brad said we need something good to happen this weekend in Richmond. A lot of pressure. Hey, my friend, great run. Take us through the final adjustment that you talked about needing to make on the car so you could run down the 2-car.
Yeah, Jeremy Bullins and everybody on the Penske team here, they have a heck of a plan for these cars, and they've just executed all year long on just you know, great race cars. I mean, these Ford Mustangs are really, really fast. We just had to get the adjustments right. We're a little bit off on the balance, and he had to tune a few things. I'm not going to tell you what, Jerry, but we had to change a few things on the car on the pit stops, you know, with different adjustment tools, and the car just came alive, and that was the key to getting us in victory lane.
Take us back to that final restart. You're on the inside now for the first time beside the 2-car and being able to pull away. There's some question as to maybe you going before the restart zone.
You know, Brian had been going really deep in the box, and I knew that was going to be his tactic of what he was going to do when he was beside me. So I just want, as soon as I got to the box, and it caught him just a little bit off guard, and we were able to drive away.
How much does tonight help you with what you're going to have to try to do here tomorrow night when you need a big night, a Hail Mary to get in the chase?
It doesn't hurt, Jerry.
All right, Brad Keselowski said needed something good to happen all weekend. Not a bad way to start in victory lane on Friday night.
You see where Keselowski won 5 of the last 6 starts. Let's check in now with Vince Welch.
Certainly heartbreak for Brian Scott. Led 239 of the 250 laps. Came down to the final 2 restarts. Brian, I know you're particularly upset about the last restart. Explain what bothers you there.
Well, first off, our Show Edge Camaro was just amazing, and I got to thank everybody at Richard Childress Racing and Nationwide Insurance. It's a real honor to get a race in the 1,000th nationwide race. So that was cool, and we just had a great car. Unfortunately, the restart before the last, I didn't get a great restart, and he beat us to the line, and I was a little upset about that call. And then on the final restart, Brad, he went 2 or 3 car lengths early. I mean, I think it looked pretty obvious when I saw the replay on TV, and that never gave us a chance to put on a race for the fans and race side by side into turn 1, which I think would have been a lot more interesting. I've seen people penalized for less questionable restarts than that, and I don't understand why there wasn't a penalty for 1, beating me to the line on the restart before that, and 2, jumping that one. It sucks. It took the win away from the best car, and it eliminated a race that the fans could have seen to the end. He went so early and checked out, and you know, everybody here at Richmond and everybody on ESPN they didn't get to see a side-by-side racing that they should have seen in this 1,000th race, and that's a real shame.
What would you like to hear from NASCAR?
Just some clarification to understand, you know, when some of the rules maybe don't get penalized or don't apply, because those would be good to know, especially in those situations. We had a car that was capable of winning. I haven't, you know, been in the lead on a lot of restarts, so maybe I'm just unfamiliar that the rules only apply sometimes.
Thanks, Brian. Great run for the 2 of Brian Scott tonight, but second place is tough to swallow, Marty.
And Richard Childress comes over to console him. And let's go back and show you exactly what he's talking about. And Andy, let everybody know where the restart zone is.
Yeah, you see these 2 white lines on the inside of the racetrack. That's the zone that they're going to go in. And you can see, I mean, I got to hand it to Brad. He did a good job. He did start a little early, in my opinion, but not so early that it drew NASCAR penalty.
All right, let's go back and listen to the restart as we go on board.
Yeah, you can see right there. I mean, he definitely went before those 2 lines.
Yeah, that's really, really close. And I can tell you from a driver's perspective, as you get there, you're hoping they're not calling feet. And plus, where NASCAR is sitting and trying to judge that would be a tough call for them to make, because they're more up above the start-finish line and looking down towards turn 4.
Well, the most prior laps led here by a driver who failed to win at Richmond, 195 by Clint Boyer back in September of 2008. Guess what car he was driving? The number 2 for Richard Childress Racing. The number 2 led 239 tonight and did not win. Next week, the NASCAR Nationwide Series heads to the Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois. For tickets to that event and other upcoming races on the schedule, just go to NASCAR.com/tickets. If you can't be there with us, well, join us on ESPN2. You see the time right there, 3:30 Eastern. All right, let's go one more time to the restart, the final restart. This is from high above.
Yeah, you can see right here, he definitely goes early. There's the line. I mean, there's no doubt he went early. Is it so early that it should draw a penalty? Well, it didn't this time.
Yeah, and you know, what is the rule exactly? You have to make sure that you're there. And again, from where NASCAR is sitting, unless they're getting that replay immediately to see that, where they're viewing this from, it would be very hard to tell that down towards the turn 4 side.
Well, we had another confrontation between the 31 of Justin Allgaier and Austin Dillon in the 3. They finished 11th and 12th, respectively. And let's go back to the incident. This was when everybody was 4 wide.
Yeah, everybody trying to get what they could. It was getting down late in the race, and everybody's going to have different opinions. And certainly when you have 2 cars and drivers that have been into it before, certainly heats things up.
And this was after the race. That's Danny Stockman, the crew chief, that jumps in. Now let's get both sides of the story. Jamie's up first.
Austin Dillon brings it home 12th, and we saw what happened on the final restart. You guys had some words. You said if you want to talk outside of the track, we can. What is your take on what happened?
I don't know. I haven't seen a replay. He always comes up after the race and apologizes. I don't even like to talk after the race. You know, just get out of it. You're hot and you don't want to talk, and it's just not the right time, in my opinion. So I said if he wants to talk later, we can. But not right now. But anyways, we didn't have a good enough car to compete up there tonight. We worked on it hard. We got it where we were back in the top 5 there at the end. Pit crew did an unbelievable job keeping us in the race. Without them tonight, we wouldn't have been where we were. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't get to see the replay when we get 4 wide, but it's a small track, and you can't do that. So it's part of it, I guess. But we just got to get more aggressive at the end of these things to take advantage of the restarts. I want to thank Nationwide Insurance and everybody back at RCR are working hard. We're still in this thing, though. It's these things to get through tonight with where we were. I'm happy.
16 points back now. Austin Dillon still second in points.
Justin Allgaier was on the other side of that, of course. And Justin, you said the 4 wide wasn't the only time that you and the 3 were kind of having words on the track earlier.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were out there racing early in the race, and he was trying to get around us on the bottom, and I gave him the bottom. I was running the top, and he couldn't make it, and 3 or 4 guys passed me and passed both of us on the bottom. And then he ran in the back of me and tried wrecking me going down into 1. And I guess hit me again somewhere else in the left rear. And the 4 wide deal, I mean, the 12 and I were racing really hard and had plenty of a run and thought there was plenty of space to go in there. And obviously the outside 2 rows came down. You know, I hate it. We had a really good Brand Camaro tonight. I made a mistake early in the race and got myself in trouble and had to come back through the field. But can't say enough for all the guys back at Turner Scott Motorsports and all of our partners, Professional Agriculture, the fans. Obviously, we had a great crowd tonight for the Thousands race. So huge thank you to NASCAR for the Thousands race and Nationwide Insurance for all they do for our sport. So we're going to Chicago and get to make our Cup debut next week, and got a lot of really good things going.
You've known Austin for over a year now, at least on the track in the Nationwide Series, and you wanted to discuss right now. He wanted to discuss it later. How do you think the 2 of you will resolve this?
He wanted to discuss it outside the racetrack later after we leave the pits. But, you know, for me, you know, last spring when we were here, we got wrecked by the 3 going into turn 3. So, I mean, we've had our differences. I hope we can move past it. We've tried multiple times to move past it. Seems like 3 and 31 are magnets. I don't know what that's all about. But, you know, we'll get it figured out, and we'll go on. We're professionals. This is what we do. And both of us hopefully have a long career in this sport, and we'll have to figure it out, or we're going to wreck a lot of race cars, unfortunately.
Kind of thing we see often here on the short tracks, Marty.
Yeah, let's take you back to that April incident. It was with less than 50 to go. They were battling for 7th.
Yeah, and a lot of things that you see. You have short track racing, one driver trying to make a pass, the other trying to protect his position, and things are going to happen. Different opinions about what did happen, as usually the case.
Notice the 3rd car in there, the 2 of Brian Scott. All right, let's check the updated points for the Drivers' Championship, because Sam Hornish Jr. finishes 6th and actually extends his lead by 6 from 10 to 16. Regan Smith moves up 1 spot. He's now 26 behind. Elliott Sadler drops a spot. He's 28 points behind. And still these 2 are the top front runners, but Regan Smith, Elliott Sadler still have a chance, don't they?
Yeah, they still have a chance for sure, and very impressed with Sam Hornish able to come back after getting himself outside the top 10 there late in the race.
Well, let's talk to Regan Smith. How about it, Dave Burns?
Regan Smith finishes 3rd tonight, and Regan, all the time you spent on the track today, how much did that contribute to what you did here tonight?
Well, it didn't hurt. Just getting track time and then working my line. You know, I had an opportunity when I was in the 48 car to work on some stuff that I've been working on and wasn't doing a very good job of it. So really focused on that in the race. And the Hellman Chevy was good. You know, Greg did a hell of a job with this car, tuning it up. This has not been one of my favorite racetracks, and this year it's been one of our better racetracks. So the guys did a great job. Hollow Junior Motorsports didn't gain as much as we would have liked to have tonight, but nonetheless, maybe some guys are a little angry at each other throughout the front up there ahead of us, and we'll keep chipping away, go to Chicago, and keep fighting. Thanks.
He had 427 total laps today on the track between the 2 series. Finished 5th in the April race here, and that's what he's saying. He's got a 5th and a 3rd, so maybe he likes this. How about some final thoughts, guys?
Well, I see Brad Keselowski as a guy that just never gives up. He fell way back on a pit stop, fought his way back up, and looked like, you know, he was beaten by the class of the field until the very end when he took the lead.
And he's lengthened the Owners' Championship from 11 now up to 18 over the 54 car of Joe Gibbs Racing. How about you?
Yeah, a great night. Brian Scott, that was phenomenal to watch him, and he'll get his chance to win some races. You know, Brad Keselowski enjoying this right now, but he's going to have to turn his thoughts to what he can possibly do tomorrow night to try to get maximum points and hope that some others have some problems so he can work his way into the chase.
Just needs so much help. I don't know. It's going to be a tough road to go. So we'll find out tomorrow, 7 o'clock on ABC, as our Sprint Cup Series, the race for the chase. As you look at the final restart, coming up next, it'll be Sports Center. Congratulations go out to Brad Keselowski, as there is the agony on the face of Brian Scott, who thought he had his first career win after 239 laps in the lead. For our entire ESPN crew, thanks so much for spending your Friday evening with us. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did bringing it to you. I'm Marty Reed. Till we meet again.